I was watching. Okay, we're good. Okay, welcome everybody to our council meeting this evening. And we're going to call it to order, and I have a roll call with our housing manager, Amanda Lee, who's acting city clerk for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Let the record reflect that all members are present.
If you all rise, our Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led tonight by Councilmember Aguilera.
Please join me in honoring our nation's flag.
Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our invocator is not available this evening, so we're just going to move on. We won't have an invocation this evening. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. The next thing is the approval of our agenda, and our city manager, Patrick Johnson, will
Thank
go
you,
with
Mayor.
that.
There's nothing to be removed from the agenda. However, I wanted to point out two things today regarding item C2, which is the minutes. There have been a few changes to item D1, entitled Proposed Amendment to the Downtown Specific Plan at 303 Vista Village Drive. And again, the revision was issued to all of you and to the public earlier in the day. And then the second issue is we'll need to take discussion item number D1, entitled By District Elections for the City Council, prior to the public hearing, PH2, with the same title, By District Elections. And the reason for that is D1 would need City Council approval to be able to continue on to the public hearing. So there will be a change in the order there.
Okay. And our city attorney, Daryl Piper, will bring us out of closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session tonight for the item disclosed on closed session CS1. No action was taken that's required to be disclosed at this time.
Okay, and we have one presentation tonight. It's Don Stump, North County Lifeline Executive Director, Alliance for Regional Solutions past president, will provide a report on the 10-year impact of the Winter Shelter Network. Thanks, Don.
I always feel like I ought to physically take off the Lifeline hat, and I'm putting on tonight the Alliance for Regional Solutions hat. And just so that you know, we do have some slides. On the second slide, we have the mission of the Alliance. And the mission is to convene stakeholders from all sectors to create and advocate for practical solutions to emerging community needs in North County. So on behalf of the Alliance for Regional Solutions, I'm here first to say thank you so much to the City of Vista and your staff and this council for supporting emergency shelter and housing for the North County community in a collaborative way for 10 years. It's had a huge impact, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. The second thing I want to do is later you'll hear is there's some congratulations. We've had a big impact, and the change is moving forward. As you can see on the next slide, we have 46 organizations that are partners with the Alliance for Regional Solutions through an MOU, but the truth is there's probably 25 additional organizations and partners that are working with us to help create these solutions in North County. Next slide. The Alliance was created in 2006, so 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. And it came together to create one solution across the 78 corridor and in North County around homelessness, and trying to look at sort of an egalitarian approach to making sure that there were shelters available to everybody in every community, and that all the different types of folks with different experiences of homelessness had a place to go. And we, at the Alliance, as a non-501c3, we're a collaborative, became the entity to congregate the money from 9 different municipalities and then give it back out through a network of shelter supports. The next most important thing that I think happened there is that we decided to exchange leadership because of the collaborative nature of this. And so the folks that were very interested in sheltering created the Alliance. And then we realized that we had this problem-solving mechanism across the region and have now created 4 additional committees of the Alliance for Regional Solutions that are helping solve problems. The first one is now what was formerly the Emergency Shelter Committee is now the Bridge Housing Committee. We have the North County Food Policy Council, which is working on food security. We have North County Works, which are all the folks building employment capacity through North County, including employers, foundations, and service providers are all working together. We also have the North County Behavioral Health Alliance, which are all the folks responding to behavioral health needs across the county, trying to look at common issues. And then our most recent is the Senior Alliance, which all those providers which are providing services to seniors, including for-profit entities that are really the growing part of the senior solution right now, are all getting together and working collaboratively. So back to homelessness. The state of homelessness in North County, at the last point in time count, there were 2,035 homeless persons identified through that day of counting in North County out of 8,692 in the whole county. 1,159 homeless persons in North County inland and 876 homeless persons in North County coastal. The Vista connection with that is that Operation Hope is the provider in this community of Vista that was doing for 9.5 years emergency winter shelter. And during their last year of only being a seasonal shelter, they had 45 beds and served 200 women and their children that season. In 2016, as we all know, they became a year-round shelter, which was a very important thing for us in North County because there were no year-round shelters in North County until the last 2 years. And with that, they have screened 456 families to be in the shelter simply since August 1st, 16. And they have enrolled 156 women and their children in the shelter since that time. And that's only 8 months. And I do know that they have about 100 folks actively on the waiting list right now seeking shelter. If you go one more slide. In this network of shelters that we've built across North County through the Alliance for Regional Solution, 3 of the 4 have gone year-round. So Haven House with Interfaith in Escondido has gone year-round. La Posada de Guadalupe, run by Catholic Charities in Carlsbad, has gone year-round, and Operation Hope here in Vista has gone year-round. Bread of Life, which is run by a faith organization in Oceanside, is currently working actively toward getting there. The second part is that we've contracted with a shelter network, and so we have probably over 30 churches that do seasonal 2-week shelters in their churches where the congregation supports it. So the next 2 slides are the coastal and the inland churches that are also sponsoring short-term shelters. And I think the most important thing to say is that we have found a cost-efficient solution by building collaboration across a region. And what we're really looking at is with our partners, how do we build continued support for this? Our biggest accomplishment in the last 10 years is that not only have we served thousands and thousands of individuals, families, veterans, adult men, adult women, families who are homeless and helped them get back on the streets, we've also built a network of support where we're utilizing funds in the most cost-efficient way. Rather than a lot of people coming at individuals saying, I've got multiple choices, we're really saying the Alliance is the mechanism to bring those funds and the ideas, and then we will distribute it out for a winter shelter network. So with that, I want to thank the Council again for all your support over the past 10 years, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Don. Do you have any questions of him? Do you have one? Oh, Councilmember Aguilera. Oh, and Councilmember Green first. I see his button, and then Councilmember Aguilera.
That's right. I was pushing that button. I just wanted to thank Don. I've worked with Don on several committees here focused on our children. The Vista Partnership for Kids is the one that comes to mind. And just thank you for everything that you're doing. This presentation's awesome. I know homelessness is a huge problem in our community, but the fact there's guys like you out there to face it head on and kind of make a dent in it, I'm proud to be a Vistan and have a gentleman like you on our side. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Aguilera.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for everything you do in the community, and thank you for bringing this information to us, and hopefully we can continue to collaborate and work together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. We appreciate that. All that you do for our community. Thank you for Lifeline and this also, so thank you.
Thank you.
You do many things, man of many hats.
Yes, thank you.
Catherine Fisher, did you want to speak? Catherine, did you want to speak?
I just want to add my thanks.
You have to come to the microphone here.
Operation Hope Vista started as a year-round shelter. We have been in existence since 2002 with the help of churches. Gene Cole, our founder, had this dream for us to open year-round, and that happened. And since August 1st, I came on board as Director of Shelter Operations, and it's been a whirlwind, but amazing. We've served 155 single women and families and children as of today, and we have a wonderful program. And I want to really just, again, thank the City of Vista for your support. And the need continues. The demand continues. We have a lot of women with children in crises. And so we're really grateful to work with our partners at Lifeline, Interfaith, and really we're able to provide services more efficiently and move people into the right places more quickly because of these partnerships through the Alliance. So again, just wanted to add my thank you. Kathleen Higgins, our Executive Director, is out ill tonight, so she sent me to represent the Operation Hope Shelter.
Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you. And then I'd like to just remind everybody that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. And so the ordinance was adopted to allow the public input and to facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. So applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only, which you did good. And then, but it's also listed on the agenda cover sheet. But we appreciate holding your applause and not being disruptive because we're not at a ball game, or a theater or something. So we appreciate that. So with that, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar, and any member of the public can remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk's secretary. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. And so we have, do I have any consent? No speakers for consent. So we have items C1 through C4 on our consent calendar, and I don't see any speakers for any. So Councilmember Rigby.
I was just going to move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Councilmember Aguilera.
I'll second it.
Okay, please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. So the next thing on our agenda is our public hearings. It's a public hearing to receive testimony regarding the levying of the Central Vista Business Improvement District assessment for the fiscal year 2017-18. And our Economic Development Director, Kevin Ham, is going to introduce the item. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. This public hearing is being held to confirm the Central Vista Business Improvement District annual report for the 2017-18 fiscal year. All assessments, boundaries, and programs remain unchanged for this upcoming fiscal year. If no majority protest exists for those being assessed, the proposed assessment can be approved through the adoption of the attached resolution. Staff recommends approving the attached resolution confirming the annual report and levying the assessment for fiscal year 17-18. I'm available to answer any questions, as well as Jeffrey Frankel, who is the VVBA Executive Director, and they're the administrator of the CVBID.
Okay, do I have any speakers from the audience? No speakers for the audience. So do I have anybody? Councilmember Green.
I just want to be clear because I had a question when I saw this on here, and I spoke with Jeff Underdala, actually, who is a local business owner in that district, and he was, said, hey, this is on the agenda, what's going on, and was kind of worried about it. And I just clarified to him exactly what you clarified to us, that this is no change, this is not a new tax, this is not us asking for more money, it's just saying everything is going to remain the same, and we're going to continue to get that money to operate the VVBA, and that CVID is specified, correct?
Correct.
Okay, beautiful, thank you.
Well, I have one speaker here. So, Councilmember, or not Councilmember, Frank Lopez. Used to be. Where is he? I kind of regressed, didn't I? I said I regressed, didn't I? Called you a council member.
Good evening, council, attorney. Good evening, and folks in the audience. I'd like to talk about VVBA. VVBA has been around for quite a few years, and there's an A, B, and a C. Can any of you up there tell me what has the VVBA done for the South Santa Fe area? Come on.
Frank.
Okay.
It's not the VBA is not on our agenda.
That's what you're just talking about. Correct?
But it's the levying of the Business Improvement District assessment for the year. So
okay, this is about the money, okay? What I'd like to see is the C area taken off, because it's not fair that the businesses of that community have been paying for years, and you can't even get the director to come out to the South Santa Fe area, even talk to the business people down there. Why should we finance that part of town? That's not right. And it's time that you look at that area and get it off that little map, because it's not right.
I think you guys have to do that. I think you have to do a petition with that, with a certain number of the businesses that have to sign that.
I understand that. But when's the last day for the petition that can be put in to the attorney?
I don't know that.
So the way it would work is that we would receive a petition. The council could, I believe, remove it this evening, right? Because you can't make any additions or changes. But if the council wanted to hear about some of the activities that happen on the South Santa Fe area, Jeffrey Frankel is here from the VVBA, and he could give you a quick update. I know he was here about a month and a half, 2 months ago to give an update, but he could do that as well.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
what I'm here to do is to please take that off. It's not fair to the businesses in that area. They get no benefit from the VVBA at all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do I have any speakers here that want to speak? Councilmember Green.
I'd just like to give Mr. Frankel an opportunity to come up and talk to us about what the VVBA is doing down there. I think everybody here would like to see, so come on down. As this money that is taken in is used to fund the VVBA, correct? Thank you.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you. Thank you to everybody who's with us. I will share that VVBA is outreaching to the South Santa Fe corridor. Just last week, I met with Keith at Partake, and we are doing a Vista ad grant that is helping to fund programs, because the businesses down there do receive less of a benefit in that they're not in the hub of either historic downtown or the DDR property where events are. So there's a different level of outreach and interaction that we need to have with those businesses to market them, to get people down there. We need to create what Keith and I spoke of last week was that is a destination. It's not a place where you're going to happen to walk through like you might after a meal at Urban. You may take a walk around historic downtown. So there are certain things that need to be done to market those businesses, and I'm working with those leaders, and I'd be happy to meet with you, Mr. Lopez, and see how we can do that.
Excuse me, but we can't, no talking. You can't have a conversation from the audience. I'm sorry. So go ahead. No, please, quiet.
So that is the actions that we are doing. We also have money in our work plan this year to conduct outreach and recognition of the businesses in that part of the bid.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions of him? Okay, we're good. Thank you. So I would close the public hearing, and do I have any comments from my council members? Okay, close the public hearing and move to staff recommendation. And I have a second. Okay, please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to the next thing. As we noted earlier, we're now going to take item D1 by district elections for city council for consideration. And that was going to be, we're taking that first. So our city attorney, Darrell Piper, is going to provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Since its founding, the city of Vista has had an at-large election system whereby the mayor and all council members are elected by the entire city. However, that system can be unlawful when it disadvantages minority groups, in which case the law prefers elections by district. Prior to 2001, the Federal Voting Rights Act was the principal statute that governed these issues. And in fact, in 2003, the city of Vista was investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice under that act, but no violations were found. And that was based on a four-part test that is endorsed by the U.S. Supreme Court. So there was no problem with Vista's system under federal law. However, in 2001, the California legislature passed the California Voting Rights Act. That act eliminated two of the four tests used under federal law and made it far easier for minority groups to allege that their votes are being diluted by having at-large elections. The Act also provides that persons suing under the Act were entitled to their attorney's fees and costs. The result of that was a wave of lawsuits, small at first, but a wave that sought to compel district elections in cities with significant minority populations. Those lawsuits were extremely expensive for the first cities who encountered them, some incurring expenses in the millions and millions of dollars to defend and ultimately lose or settle those cases. No city has ever won such a case. On February 13th, the city of Vista received a letter from attorney Kevin Schenkman demanding an end to the city's existing at-large city council election system and threatening litigation if we did not move in that direction. As an aside, the city of Oceanside received their letter from Mr. Schenkman yesterday. And the cities of Escondido got theirs long ago, as I believe did San Marcos, both of which have changed to district elections. In response to this threat of litigation, the staff has evaluated the city's options and prepared the agenda report that you see, if you happen to have one in print tonight. It goes into this in more detail than I'm going to be speaking about. As I mentioned before, Voting Rights Act litigation is extremely expensive to defend, and the act was designed to make it extremely difficult for a defendant to win. And because, however, of the high costs that cities began to incur defending or even settling these lawsuits, in 2016, the legislature passed two bills that created a safe harbor process for moving to district elections. And by safe harbor, I mean as long as the city is pursuing the process set forth in those bills, no one can file a lawsuit against the city. The resolutions that are before the council tonight are part of that safe harbor process, as is the subsequent public hearing that is scheduled for tonight, PH2. Under the law, the city has 90 days in which to take action to convert from an at-large to a by-district election system. During that 90 days, we are free from the threat of litigation. The 90 days will begin tonight if the council adopts the two resolutions that are before it. The entire process begins with the adoption of the resolutions, and Exhibit 1 on tonight's agenda is a resolution indicating an intent to move in that direction and to provide for 4 councilman seats to be elected by district. The mayor would continue to be elected at large. Exhibit 2, the resolution, adopts the criteria that would be used to draw council district boundaries. If these resolutions are adopted, there begins a process of 4 public hearings. The first of those hearings, again, is scheduled for tonight as PH2. A second hearing will occur at a subsequent council meeting, and then following the second public hearing, the city's demographers, who've been hired to assist us with this process, will provide a map or maps for the council to consider when drawing the district elections. The presentation of the maps will be followed by 2 more public hearings, and in those hearings, members of the public or other groups can propose alternative maps for the council's consideration. At the conclusion of the 4 public hearings, the City Council has the option to choose its map of choice and move to district elections. Could also fail to do that, not move to district elections, in which case litigation would inevitably follow. At the final hearing, when a map is presumably adopted, the City Council will also choose the sequence in which districts will stand for election in 2018 and 2020. Dr. Justin Levitt of the National Demographic Corporation, known as NDC, is one of the city's demographers, and he is present tonight to conduct the public hearing should the council decide to proceed. His presentation will include information on Vista's demographics and how other similarly situated jurisdictions have responded to these challenges. He will also discuss the public hearing process, community engagement, and how the conversion to district elections would actually work. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I don't know if any of you have any questions of council, or I do have speakers here. Do you want to have speakers first? Okay, we'll start with Cipriano Vargas.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. My name is Cipriano Vargas. I'm a Vista resident and also member of the Vista School Board. I'm here to talk about this moving into district elections and why I'm in support of it. First of all, VUSD already does this, and we bring in, we have 5 school board members, but also the Vista Irrigation Water Board already has district areas. And in my opinion, it allows for opportunity to bring in individuals into these public entities from a wide range of whether it's location, different socioeconomic communities, but also bring in people that bring in a wide range of diversity onto the school board, onto the water board, and if moving forward with the Vista City Council. Now, for me, when I decided to run for school board, one of the reasons I decided to is because it was by district. I knew that running when Vista Unified used to be at large, people used to get around 20,000 voters, which, that's an additional cost of the campaign. You all done campaigning, you know how costly it can be, especially when there's more voters. And so this really allowed me for the opportunity to run for school board in the district where I grew up, in the district where it's my community, in the district where I saw many challenges, but also what I could bring to the table. I'm a teacher. I'm well qualified to be a board member. We have many individuals in our community that I think would want to run for city council, that would want to run for these other positions, but because of the various challenges, ultimately decide not to. Now, on the second part, I'm here to talk about the process if the city council does decide to move forward on this. I know that with the National Demographics Corporation, 90 days. It's a quick time frame. So if we're going to do this, let's do this effectively. I know that in their presentation, they will talk about engagement with the community, on how to educate the community and how to empower the community. But I also know that there's challenges. How can we get more people at the table? How can we get more community members where we listen to their input? It's not just enough putting an agenda online and expecting people to come. I think on this issue, we really need to be proactive. We really need to advocate and go into the community and hear what they have to say. What is their input? How do they see this moving in the right direction that benefits all? And so with that, I'm here as a resource. I'm here as an individual that wants to help you all. And I'm here in strong support of this moving into district elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Karina Contreras?
Hello, thank you, Mayor Ritter. Thank you, council members. Hello, fellow Vistanians. I want to say two things. One, I grew up in two different parts of Vista. I've been in Vista since the 80s. And there are so many different communities present within the boundaries of Vista. It is unfortunate that these communities don't necessarily get the representation that they need. I grew up by Foothill and Warmlands, and then in middle school moved over where Beaubier is, so two totally different parts of Vista. I still live by Beaubier, and I have a farm out by Foothill, and I can see it in my day-to-day activities that these are two different communities with different needs. Where I live by Beaubier, we have a lot of people that walk, not by choice, but because that's their mode of transportation. We're seriously lacking sidewalks. Different story, by Foothill with the school that was built there. There were sidewalks that were put in. I hope that we are able to have a transparent process. Obviously, we're going to go to electing by district, so I want to see the community involved. I want the council to let the community know what's going on, and I look forward to seeing how elections will turn out moving forward. So I do appreciate you guys taking this up, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Kathleen Boyle?
Hi, good evening. In the past, whenever I've complained about things in Vista, my husband would say, why don't you go to the city council meetings? And I would say, I guess I don't care that much. Well, a couple of weeks ago, people showed me pictures and told me about the closing of the medical marijuana dispensaries. And I realized that what looked like vandalism was some acts of law. I didn't understand it, but since I had a background in drug abuse research, I thought I could bring my expertise to the topic. And so I spoke a couple of weeks ago. For this topic tonight, I don't have any particular expertise, but it's something I think is obviously, everybody thinks so, very, very important, not just for the financial reasons, but I'm not an expert on this kind of law, but I'm an expert on being a human being. I've been one all my life. And I feel that decisions should be made from our souls and our hearts as well as from our financial heads. We all know that at some point, maybe not now, maybe in a year, Vista will go to by-district elections. It's just something that's going to happen. Like someday medical marijuana dispensaries will be opening, and just like someday there will be same-sex marriage. Oh, that one happened already. So these things are going to happen. If we look at the demographics of the city, we don't need to be an expert to know that the changes have to come. So I'm just imploring for all of Vista, not just to think about financial benefits, but we should move forward with a lot of positive feelings and grace and welcome everybody to the table, because people bring different visions, different notions, different ideas, and their strengths, and this is a very good thing. And I'm also asking if there could be some sort of a special commission so that other people from the community could help the City Council and the demographer in drawing the eventual lines. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joshua Tienda?
Good evening, City Attorney, City Manager, Councilman. This is a topic I probably have more experience because I've been at campaigns. So I know the hard work and has to be put, the challenges. So it makes sense, probably financially wise, for lower income candidates, those who don't have the vast resources they advocate for district elections. However, what I don't appreciate is my community being used. I mean, the litigant claimed that Uruguay Lopez lost because they had a citywide. If you think about it, according to Sandex demographics, we are 48%. So that means whoever got elected was a consolidation candidate. He had to have support from the whole city. So, I mean, and if we want to move this, don't put it as put the Hispanics in this section or the whites in that section. We have a lot of voice, and we have a lot of power, and our voice counts. So that shouldn't be put down. So I just wanted to justify the notion. So whatever the city adopts, I just wanted to that the Hispanic population won't be shortchanged because of just a litigant using our name. That's it.
Thank you. That's the last of our speakers. So you put down, you have D2, but so come on up, Frank. Is there a D1 too? Oh, she wrote D1 on it. So we had written on there wrong. Come on, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. Okay, we got you. Okay, you're good. You have 3 minutes.
Sorry I didn't give my name earlier. Okay, I'll make it official. My name is Frank Lopez, 7.
I did say your name before.
27 South Santa Fe Avenue, Vista. As the chairman of the, I guess you call it a probe, back when it was brought here to Vista, when the DOJ came in, there was complaints then about Latinos complained that Vista was actually hindering Latinos from being elected in the city of Vista. Like the gentleman said, 40-some% Latinos in the city of Vista, which that's a lot for a community. I was elected during that time and I am Latino. Can you see it?
Hey, talk to us.
The gentleman right up here is Latino. I don't know what you are, but anyhow, maybe close, I don't know. But anyhow, one of the things that bothers me here is that I'd like to ask the attorney, can it be brought to the voters on this?
Sure. Answer.
The answer to the question is yes, and that's exemplified by the fact that Escondido took it to the voters. They were still sued. They still lost. They still incurred $500,000 in damages, and they had their plan forced on them by the courts instead of through the council process. So yes, you can vote, but it does not insulate you at all from a California Voter Rights Act action.
It still doesn't. They'll still do it to you.
They still did it to Escondido.
Yeah. Well, I just feel that I don't think it's right because of this last election. We had a young man who lost, Latino, for the third time. This actually has been, for your information, has been going on for a year and a half, whether you know it or not, that it's been going on, or maybe longer, because it was presented to me back then. And I felt it was the wrong thing for this community. What is it all about? It's about not having Latinos up there. We've had turns, and there's a lot of Latinos who can make it onto that council. The problem is Latinos just do not get involved enough in their communities, in different activities where people learn who they are. And when they do that, then they have a voice. And the problem is very few of them actually get involved. And so they have a chance to get on that council. Dividing this into districts has its pros and cons. The problem I see with this is that when you divide it into districts, you will then they will then move who they want into that district, and after a while, it's like they take it over. I don't see these folks
Frank, your time is up, Frank.
In Central Valley, excuse me 1 second, in Central Valley trying to take the Mexican people off the council up there. The entire council is Mexicans, but they're not up there taking them off. They're here for the dollar. They're here because they're leeches.
Okay, Councilmember Green.
That was our last speaker on the
Last
deal.
speaker on that.
Okay, I just want to go on the record as saying that I do not agree with the district elections. I was a candidate that ran for this office in this last election. I ran against the candidate that was spoken of earlier. I grew up in the Townside area. Although I am not a Latino man, I am married to a Latino woman and have 4 Latino kids. I speak Spanish fluently. I was endorsed by Grow Elect, which is an organization that only endorses Latino candidates. I was the first non-Latino ever. So I feel like I do represent that area fine. I do feel like we have other candidates up here that represent the demographic of our community just fine, and I feel like this is a ploy to, somebody who didn't win, and this is a way to make sure they win. So I went in here super upset because I don't feel like we live in a racist city. I feel like we live in a city that welcomes all races. Although I'm not a Latino, as you know, I'm in this Latino community. All my kids went to schools in this Latino community. I graduated from schools in Vista. I went to schools in Vista, and all the candidates up here have worked very hard to get elected. It is a lot harder to walk more than 10,000 doors to get elected. If I had to walk one district, it would be much easier, but I wanted to get to know my entire city. I wanted to go to Shadow Ridge. I wanted to go to Beaubier. I wanted to go to Hanalei. I wanted to go to Foothill. I wanted to go all over the place so I know what everybody's doing. I feel like districting is going to divide our city more than it's going to bring us together. You're going to have people advocating for just their little portion as opposed to what's best for Vista as a whole. As a guy who's lived in Vista for 30 years, in every single part of this community, I I think this is horrible for my city. If it wasn't going to cost $5 million and us still lose, I would adamantly oppose and kick and scream like crazy. But this is the one fight, and the first fight, there's actually been a couple at this point, that I walked in and lost before I even got to throw a punch. And as a guy who's a fighter, this is frustrating. But this is us being bullied by the system. And there's nothing as a council we can do about it. None of us want to do this. We love being a part of our entire city. It is not fair. But if we want to do what's right for our constituents and not waste $5 million of their dollars, knowing that inevitably we're going to have to do it anyways, that's why we're doing this. Are we going to seek the advice of our community? Heck yeah. Do I wish we could put it to a vote? Heck yeah. It probably might get shot down in a vote, but it doesn't matter. We would still lose. The election would cost money. The lawsuit would cost money. We would still lose. This is the way that it's going, and unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it as much as we would love to. So I just want to go on the record saying I adamantly oppose going to districts. I think it's bad for my city. I think if new council members do get elected, they're only going to be focused on their city, and they're going to wonder why that money's not coming to their district. And it's great to have a representative of a district, but it's better to represent the city as a whole and to think about the city as a whole and not think about the city as just your little section, because we're one city. We are all Vista every day. We're not all different parts of Vista. So, you know, as a Vistan myself, who is real deep in this Latino community and deep in Vista, I'm representing you right now. And for us to say, hey, you know, we're not being elected because of, you know, some other racial profiling deal, I think is completely, you know, inappropriate and unacceptable, and my blood's boiling and I'm super upset about it, and that's all I got to say about it.
So how do you really feel? Councilmember Franklin, Deputy Mayor Franklin.
Well, I think Councilmember Green said most of the things that I was thinking, and then some. You know, at this point, I just think it's incumbent upon us to communicate with the community. I think many members of our community will be disappointed to know that they're not going to be able to vote for a majority of the members of the council, that their vote will only affect one seat and the mayor, and therefore their ability to have a say in how the council majority is comprised will be taken from them. However, as I said at the last council meeting, and I won't get the Constitution out and quote it again, but as I said before, frequently we are compelled to comply with the edicts of the state law and the state constitution. This is a state law that we're not gonna win a fight with, and so and after a lot of thought and discussion, my understanding, I think it's our understanding, is that we don't have a choice. We have to move forward. If we fight it, we're going to lose, and we could potentially be subjecting the taxpayers to a significant financial loss. And so, while I look forward to redoubling my efforts to serve the constituents of a new district, and will always count every Vistan as a constituent of mine. I see the path before us. It leaves us only one choice, and for that reason, I would go ahead and make a motion that we enact or adopt the resolution that's in order and proposed by staff. And those are the end of my remarks.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is basically a shakedown by the state of California, and it's a rigged system. There is no way for the city to win once you've been served with this litigation. Law is written so that it is automatic failure for you and expensive failure for you if you try to fight it. And I have to agree with Councilman Deputy Mayor Franklin's comments that going by districts, the people of Vista lose their ability to vote for their entire council. For everybody, you have one person that you can vote for your district, one representative for you, yet the entire council runs the city and operates the city and has the direction and the vision for the city. And you've lost your ability to vote for your entire council and to vote for the people who speak for you. And to me, that's a very sad day for our city, for our constituents. And for a city of this size, for a city of our size, we are not multi-million citizen population like New York or Los Angeles or something like that. We're a small little city, and I believe that having districts is the wrong thing for our city at this time. And it really does anger me as well that the state of California has enacted legislation where it doesn't matter what your constituents want, what's better for your city. They're going to dictate from up on high what's better for you. They think they know what's better for us than we know what's better for us at this point. So I'm very frustrated. I'm angry that this is happening. I'm angry that we have lost, as a city, we've lost our voice. We have no voice in the court. We have no voice in Sacramento. And to me, that's un-American. But we have to, as the council, we have to look at what it would cost to fight this. And as it has been described, you look at the history of this litigation, you look at the history of Mr. Shankman, this attorney, this shakedown artist who's going up and down the state, suing all the cities, school districts, special districts, hospital districts, water districts, etc. You look at what they're doing, and it is just completely wrong. And I would like to know more information about the state and the people behind it, because it is a rigged system and there's nothing we can do. There's been no successful litigation under this act at all, not one. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
That's correct as to anything that has gone forward. Every city has either lost or settled.
So, again, it's the wrong thing for our city. I'm sad that we're being dictated by Sacramento and outside forces about what we have to do in our city, or we run the risk of losing millions and millions and millions of dollars from our city to a lawsuit when that money could be used within our city for further infrastructure and public safety that we could use here. So I just wanted on the record that I am adamantly opposed to this, but it's a situation where we have no choice. And I will leave it at that, because I could go on all day about how mad I am.
Councilmember Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, as it was pointed out, I am the sole Latino member of this council here. I guess I'm just disappointed in how this came about, when it's an outside firm that's actually pushing for this. I think it would be better if it was coming from our citizens. So I do like the fact that what Cipriano was suggesting, hopefully people in the community do step up and want to get involved in the process. I think that would be helpful. With that said, I feel that I myself, but I think our council has represented all parts of our community very well. Right now, we've got money being spent at Luz Duran Park, Linda Rhodes Community Center. These are all projects. As I was coming down here from my office, because I drive through Townsite almost every day, we've got sidewalks going in on North Drive. I know I pushed for that several years ago. So we did get grant money. Staff's really worked hard to develop that area to make it safe for families that walk from Townsite up to Maryland North Elementary School. And the reason I guess I've been opposed to districts in the past is because I feel that might go away, because now you only have one person fighting for you in that area, whereas right now I do feel like I have 5 people. And I know that all of those projects were 5-0. In other words, everybody supported that money be spent in that area. And I think that's the best thing about Vista, because I think we are a good community. I don't think that we see color in Vista, and I don't think that we have those dividing lines. And I think that the city in the past has been very supportive of that area. Sometimes, because I hear it when I walked Shadow Ridge I heard from people in Shadow Ridge that they weren't happy about the money being spent in North Vista. And I grew up in North Vista. I went to Beaubier School. I lived in the back gate of Beaubier School, walked to school every day. We did finally move from that area, but we moved to Birdland area. So I continued to walk through all that area. So I know what it is to live in those areas. You know, I haven't had all the hardships that some people have had, I will admit that. But I do know and still have friends and family that live in those areas. And for that reason, I'm disappointed that I think those people will be affected the most in a negative way. And for that reason, I have been opposed to this in the past. I was actually, as Mr. Lopez was talking about, when he was a chair of that DOJ investigation or the community outreach we had, I was actually on there as well. And was approached by the DOJ, and I had my opinions as well. And you know, DOJ felt that things were going well in the city of Vista. So again, disappointed just because it is coming from an outside firm, and I think that since they're just kind of going down the state, they're in it for the money. But with that, I will second the motion on the table.
Okay, and I actually agree with all of them, and I mean it's a sad thing, and I don't like to be dictated to by Sacramento what we can do with our city. I think we've been doing a good job with our city, and I was around when the DOJ came also when Mr. Lopez was there. We had to get demographers and prove ourselves, and we did, and everything was okay back then. So I think this is just a very frustrating time for us, but we have to go forward with this. So I have a motion and a second, so please cast your votes. Is it not? Are we not? Did we not all vote? Oh, waiting for them. Oh, okay. Councilmember Rigby, the motion passed. Councilmember Rigby abstained. Did you abstain? No.
Did you make that a yes?
She pushed the wrong button. Yes. Okay, so that motion passes unanimously. And that was our discussion item for this. And now we're going to continue with the public hearings, and we have our public hearing, which is a public hearing to receive testimony regarding the by-district elections for the City Council. And our City Attorney, Piper, will introduce the item again.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the Council. I'd like to introduce Dr. Justin Levitt of the National Demographics Corporation, our demographer. NDC and Dr. Levitt have extensive experience advising cities and other public agencies in connection with California Voting Rights Act demands. In fact, he just arrived not long ago from the city of El Cajon, where he's handling the same process for that city. And NDC has also advised the cities of Escondido and San Marcos in their move to district elections. Dr. Levitt is a graduate of Claremont McKenna College, and he received his PhD from the University of California, San Diego. He is vice president of NDC and a fellow of the Rose Institute of State and Local Government. Dr. Levitt.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thank you all who are here today, and hopefully those of you who are listening to this at home as well. I'm just going to give a brief presentation kind of outlining the process and talking a lot today about the criteria that we use to draw the plans. We've talked a little bit about these different variations of electoral systems, and what the by-district system is that each member will come from a different trustee area and be elected just by the residents of that trustee area, similar to a congressional district, state assembly, or senate district. As we've discussed here tonight already, I'll just reiterate this. Some of these settlements have been enormous. $4.7 million in Palmdale, $3 million in Modesto. These don't even include what the cities themselves have spent on it. And I can confirm no city has ever won a case on the California Voting Rights Act. And in fact, it was situations like the failure to win the lawsuit in Vista over the DOJ case that brought about the California Voting Rights Act, because it didn't win there, so they made the process easier at the state level. And so that's unfortunately the situation that we found ourselves in all across the state. And one of the big challenges, we look at this is that, California cities are very diverse. Looking at our 2010 census data, Vista has a population of 93,000 people, of whom 48% are Latino and 41% are non-Hispanic white. But that's total population. That's going to match the SANDAG percentages. But that's not actually what the Department of Justice uses when looking at voting rights. What they actually use is citizen voting age population, what they call the eligible voter population. And so if we look down, we've got these blocks on the table. That first block is total population. That's the total census count. Below that is voting age population, the population over the age of 18. Well, right below that third block is the citizen voting age population. And so that's population over the age of 18 with U.S. citizenship. So even though Vista has 93,834 total residents, it only has about 57,000 people who are eligible voters. And so if you look at the effect that has, well, 48% of the population is Latino, but 30% of the eligible voters are Latino. And it's actually that discrepancy that makes Voting Rights Act challenges really hard. And I think especially in North San Diego County, Escondido had a 40 percentage point difference between their total Latino population, 49%, and their citizen voting age population, which was 23%. And so that gap often leads that people who are voting for office sometimes are not necessarily those who are living in the city. And I think it's kind of extreme in some of these northern San Diego County cities. In other places, that difference is much smaller. Now, I just want to point out that we don't just use race, and we're going to be talking about this a lot in this process. We're going to be looking at a whole lot of other criteria, including age, income, housing, renters versus owners, where the vacancy rates may vary. Chula Vista, one of the biggest issues down there was when houses were constructed, older neighborhoods versus newer communities. We'll use education level, English proficiency. We're going to be looking at a variety of criteria as we go through the process. But as the courts do require that under the Federal Voting Rights Act, that if a city uses district elections, it has to look at race and ethnicity as part of that analysis. Is it possible to draw a majority Latino or majority African American district? If so, is that a community? Is that an actual neighborhood that has more than just race as a unifying factor? And, I think we've heard some of the neighborhood names tonight that suggest that it's not really just about race. It really is about different neighborhoods in different parts of the city. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of the citizens here because that's why I'm here tonight, to listen to testimony from people who are talking about their different neighborhoods and communities. But of course, as we see on maps like the Latino population, those percentages vary dramatically across the city. In some neighborhoods, those purple areas are less than 25% Latino, while in other areas, especially in the orange and yellows and reds, that's over 75% Latino. And so there's a big difference between different parts of the city in terms of the Latino population. And you can see here the difference between the total population and the citizen voting age population as well. And so what are we here to do throughout this process? Well, we like to call them the 3 E's. The first thing, which we're starting to do here tonight, engage the public. Let them know that districting is going on. Hopefully we're going to reach out to members of the community through those of you who are here tonight or listening to this recorded, through the press, get stories published in the North County Tribune or other papers, through social media and other organizations. Churches have always been a big source of interest in this, other community organizations. And once they find out this is going on, we want to educate them. Give people the tools to feel like they can understand what it is all these terms mean. What is citizen voting age population? What is by-district elections? And then ultimately empower people to be able to participate effectively and give people a chance to comment on this plan in a constructive way. You know, it may not be the best thing, it may not be the thing that everyone wants to do, but if it is something that the city is going to do, let's get as much involvement as possible from members of the community, and let's hear from them what the neighborhoods are and what the communities that distinguish different neighborhoods are. So, you know, we're starting this process of initial outreach. The state requires that we hold 2 public hearings, as your attorney mentioned, before the preparation of any draft maps. Now, you know, generally we think that, you know, once the draft maps come, that's when people really start to become engaged in the process because they have something to respond to. Right now you just talk about names of neighborhoods and pay attention to this community or that community, and that's really helpful in the preparation of maps. But once you start to see the actual lines on paper, then I think, you know, we start to see more interest, you know, and we encourage people to continue to tell us, like, this doesn't work because X, Y, and Z, and those reasons that you give for why a map works or doesn't work. That's the heart of this. You know, that's the heart of trying to figure out which plan is the best. So if I say anything about, you know, how to testify in one of these for those people who are listening in or maybe never thought about this process before, the more specific you are, the better. You know, don't worry about like trying to, you know, detail every, you know, street by street, but tell us the names of these neighborhoods and communities that matter. After the draft maps are released, as I mentioned, the state requires 3 public hearings at regular city council meetings before a plan is adopted. And after the plan is adopted, it will be phased in over 2 elections. So the first elections will be held in 2018, and the second election will be held in 2020 in the new seats. So, next slide. Now, when it comes to the criteria we use in drawing maps, these are a fairly standard list. On the right, on the left hand, we have the federal requirements that the Supreme Court has guaranteed over time. And the biggest one is equal population. Districts have to have the same number of people, give or take. While it recognizes you can't get down to one person, you have to stay within 10% difference between the largest and smallest districts. So maybe one district is 200 or 300 people larger than another, but within that margin of error. We have to use the 2010 census data. And that means that while that is 6 or 7 years out of date now, we still have to use the 2010 census data in this process according to state law and federal guidance. In addition to equal population, the other federal law that governs the process is the Voting Rights Act, the federal, not the California, but the federal Voting Rights Act. And that speaks about protected classes, groups that have historically faced discrimination in registering and voting or challenges receiving language or material in their own language. And it requires us to look to see whether or not it's possible to draw majority districts, and if so, do they represent communities? You know, you can't justify a district solely on the basis of race, but oftentimes we see that racial areas or concentrations in the city correspond to distinct neighborhoods with distinct problems and concerns that go beyond simply race or ethnicity. And sometimes this may not even be, you know, it may be that there are 2 separate Latino areas or 2 African American parts of the city that have very different concerns and need to be put in 2 different neighborhoods. In the city of Anaheim, for example, decided not to draw 2 majority Latino seats, but 3 seats that were about 45-46% Latino each, because these represented 3 distinct neighborhoods in that city. So that's how we kind of balance the Voting Rights Act concerns. We give you recommendations and legal advice about whether or not a plan is defensible or not, but ultimately it comes down to what we think of as communities of interest, which, you know, on the City of San Diego's Redistricting Commission, they put it the best. These are shared problems. And problems differ from neighborhood to neighborhood. But, you know, people who are in the same neighborhood are often unified by the same problem they all share, and maybe other neighborhoods nearby share the same issues as well. Maybe this could be, we'll go to the next slide for a second. These could be things such as the school attendance areas, you know, by elementary school, or sometimes in Fresno, for example, it's the high school areas. It could be, road or transportation issues. So sometimes a freeway serves to divide a community. Other times the neighborhoods on both sides really have similar interest in that corridor. We could think of these as maybe major roads as boundaries if there are planned communities, subdivisions, homeowners associations, areas near specific parks, historic districts. The list can go on and on and on. And I'm just throwing some maybe to jog your memory here or, trigger something in your thought process. But ultimately, like each city I've ever been to has different communities of interest. And so we work hard to figure out what the communities of interest are in the city. Let's go back a slide. So in addition to this, the other criteria that the state mentions are compactness, which is about the shape of the district, and contiguousness, that you can go from one part of the district to any other part of the district without leaving the district. In other words, you can't have a little bit of District 1 in the north and a little bit of District 1 in the south. But they have to be a regular shape, following perhaps, and generally speaking, we try to do this, natural and man-made boundaries. Major roads and freeways instead of through the middle of a cul-de-sac. And the other thing we're going to look at is planned future growth. Obviously doing this 7 years, what's changed in the past 7 years? We don't have specific numbers, but we do know that some areas of the city maybe have had more development than others. And so we can take that into account when looking at that equal population requirement. And finally, respecting voters' wishes and continuity in office is a principle the courts have long recognized as being important to the districting process. As we've heard here tonight, the voters of the city have elected a city council, and redistricting should not be gerrymandering in the sense of intentionally done to remove a member from office. And so these are generally the principles that we look at when drawing these maps. I think they're part of the resolution that you're looking at tonight on the criteria. Certainly, there are things that the state requires in any jurisdiction that does districts, especially the federal laws. Respect when you're going through the process. And I think that's pretty much it for my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them now or after public testimony.
Do you have any questions right now? I have two speakers, so maybe hang in there and then we'll take the speakers first. First is J.C. Luann.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and everybody. I also have lived in Vista my whole life, pretty much 50-something years. And listening to this presentation, if we have 57,000 eligible voting age and we need 23,500, it means we need 2 districts. If I do the math right, I say we take 78, we take north and south, 2 from each side, and we all get good representation. And then my second thought is, knowing that the future, everything's going to change, we could always add districts then, That way we can keep this guy, this clown who's forcing our hand, monitoring us and wasting his money so he can monitor us. And as we go along, then he raises up another thing. Well, we can add another district then, and something like that. But don't let him get away scot-free. That's my opinion. And then finally, the old adage is do and apologize when you get chastised is better than asking and be denied, and get it done that way. And who knows, or we can play his game and, be unhappy. Let's have a little fun with it.
Oh, JC. Okay, how about Stephen McLean?
Greetings, Mayor and City Council. I love Vista so much that I agree with you 1,000%. We don't need Sacramento telling us something. I love the way you guys have worked and the camaraderie, I can't speak, the camaraderie that you guys bring to the meetings. I'd just like to bring up a couple of points, of course. The first one is that if the city attorney and the mayor, you guys can address this issue, it'd be really nice, and that is if we give way to the public, or not the public, the state pressure by the lawyers to do this, I read a report where one city paid $4.5 million to fight it and then lost, and another one gave in at $100,000. Is there a point dollar-wise that we're going to look at this and say we can't afford to keep taking money from the police or the schools to fight this? That I think that should be a point we could delineate. A point that I think is my favorite peeve or big peeve is if we go along with this or fight it, is it going to bring us more transparency one way or the other? Because I feel that democracy and what we do really has little meaning if we don't have transparency. So to me, that's such a big critical thing. The speaker talked about inclusion and unifying people and gerrymandering, and I'm so glad he brought that up because I didn't politically support Arnold Schwarzenegger that much, but he said some very relevant things. And when he was asked whether he would run against the state senator, he said, I have more important things to do. I think I'm going to devote all my time to gerrymandering. And I thought that was such a deep thing for America when I look at it, freedom, democracy. Then I came across another fact that said in all of our wars, going back to whenever, the largest minority population fighting for the USA, freedom, democracy, has been the Spanish. So how we can not pay attention to, and I'll finish on this note, the disenfranchised people, which in the area I live, almost completely all Spanish, and half of them don't speak any English. But what comment that they make just really bothers me so much is the fact they say, oh, it's just like Mexico. You got money, you got power, you got no justice, you got nothing to go with. So in unifying, like the speaker said, the lawyer said, and getting people more involved in the system, I see as a giant win-win just because, and the simplest down-to-earth example I can give you, they don't believe that they should recycle that much.
I need you to wrap up.
Okay.
Your time's up.
I'll do it in less than 20 seconds. Can I have 20 seconds?
About 10.
Okay. They don't feel that they should recycle, and I could go down the lines of public surfaces because they do not feel like they're a part of the system. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks.
And thank you for what you guys do. You're fantastic.
Thank you. Cindy Aman.
Madam Mayor, before we proceed with the public speakers, could I just point out that there's a lack of decorum and order and some outbursts from the audience? And I just, if I could, Madam Mayor, just ask everyone in the audience to be respectful of their points of view. And if there are members of the audience that have things to say, that they could fill out a speaker slip and they could come forward and they could be heard like everyone else. But to please be respectful of everyone who's come to be heard. Democracy is about hearing everyone's point of view and being respectful and making decisions by majority. Would you please conduct yourselves that way? Thank you.
Thank you. And Cindy, it's your turn.
Thank you for opportunity for the small voice. I am for district-based election simply because I feel that council should reflect the population. And also, as you said, Mayor Judy, that you feel like you have no voice. That's how the community or minorities feel when there's less representation of us. We feel like we have no voice. And I agree, the community looks like it's well run, and you guys been doing a good job, and from your point of view, it's excellent. But I feel that the city would be stronger if there is if the city council reflects the population of Vista. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. That's our last speaker. So do you have any questions of the demographer or Councilmember Franklin, does that?
I just thought I would note, too, because the gentleman who spoke previous to the last speaker, sometimes what we're doing up here may have been missed, but for the public's benefit, we did adopt the resolution, and so have signaled unanimously our intent to proceed in the direction of pursuing the process and have begun that process to move toward district elections. So for anybody that didn't catch the parliamentary procedure, I just thought I would make that note.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Deputy Mayor pointed out, and it was discussed in the earlier item, this is where we're going, whether we like it or not, whether it's good for the city or not, will be something that the future will unfold for us. But as we go into this process and as we go into the districting, the district map-making process, I really, really want to encourage the community, everyone here in this room and everybody who's watching at home, to come to these workshops and have your input into the districts. There will be 4 districts for the 4 council seats, and the mayor's position will still be at large. And it really is important, and I'm surprised, actually, that there aren't more people here in the room and that we haven't had more speakers than this. There's been a lot of talk about it outside the chambers, so I was hoping to hear from more people here tonight. I'm just hoping that the community will come out and will be heard and will have a say, and we want to hear what what your thoughts are on the districts and how they're going to be mapped out. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to please participate in this process. People are asking to have more say. I think if you want to have a say, you can have a say. You show up and you're part of the process. The fact that we don't have many speakers, we don't have a lot of people in the room, I don't think there were no emails or comments that were part of our agenda packet. So here's the opportunity to get involved and be engaged and be part of the process. So please take advantage of this. Look for the notices that are going to be out in various avenues to participate in these public hearings and have your voice on the districts be heard.
With that, I don't see any other speakers. Do we need a motion on this? Or is this just close the public hearing? We'll close the public hearing? You close it or keep it open until the next time? No? You close it, okay. Okay, so public hearing is closed. And then hearing no more speakers and having no more comments from the council, we will move on to our next item, which our discussion item. Items scheduled for discussion generally require a detailed explanation by staff or the agency member that's requested the item. We have 2 more discussion items this evening. The first one is the creation of a dog memorial at South Buena Vista Park to be called Rainbow Bridge. Councilmember Rigby requested that this item be put on the agenda, so I'm going to pass it over to her to introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, along with staff, was approached by residents in the city wishing to create a place in a public park to memorialize pet dogs who have passed on. This memorial would be known as Rainbow Bridge, after a famous poem about pets who have passed. And South Buena Vista Park was selected for this because we do have an off-leash dog park there, and a lot of the dogs that would be memorialized at this memorial are dogs who have run along and enjoyed the park. The memorial would consist of uniform plaques made in memory of dogs that have passed, and the plaques would be placed on the railings of the bridge. Each 4x6 plaque would be made of cast aluminum with an engraved plexiglass insert. The cost of each plaque will be borne by the requesting dog owner. The existing bridge at South Buena Vista Park can be rebuilt by an Eagle Scout candidate under the supervision of city staff and a city-selected licensed engineer. We do have an Eagle Scout candidate who has selected that as his Eagle project. This rebuild will include additional railings to accommodate the memorial plaques. Do we have any of these pictures in our packet on the slide? No? Okay. BK Engraving, which is owned by Craig Cotton, which is a Vista business located on Williamson Street, he has agreed to be the vendor for the plaques. Melrose Veterinary Hospital has agreed to be the community partner to sponsor Rainbow Bridge. In addition to funding the memorial sign, their doctors and staff will administer and oversee this community endeavor. There will be a memorial sign at the site on the back, and on the back of the sign will be a box which is similar to a realtor's box, and it will have some applications or forms to fill out requesting a plaque be made. That will be turned back into Melrose Veterinary Hospital, and they will order the plaques from BK and arrange installation with the pet owner. To keep the memorial neat and uniform and the railings uniform, there will be no variation in the plaques. It's just one design of plaque. And with that, I recommend the approval of the creation of the Dog Memorial Park known as Rainbow Bridge at South Buena Vista Park. The fiscal impact: the bridge will be built as an Eagle Scout project. Melrose Veterinary Hospital will sponsor the Memorial Park sign and administer the program, and each requesting dog owner will pay for their plaques and the installation. Therefore, there is no direct fiscal impact to the city associated with this recommendation. And Madam Mayor, I do believe we have some speakers on this topic.
We do. We have actually 3 speakers. We had four. One had to leave. Melissa, it's like Zick. I think her name was Zick Wolf, and she had to leave. She was in favor of it. So I will call first speaker is Norm Hallis.
Mayor, Council, Norm Hallis, 1530 Madrid Drive, Vista. It's a really great opportunity to talk to you about something that we all believe in and are all in favor of. Last night, our Parks and Recreation Commission informally was unanimous in support of this particular project. And all of us who have had pets and had them leave us know what a great idea this is. So as a Parks and Rec Commissioner, as a citizen, and particularly after the last situation, how much better this is that we can all agree and move forward on it. And thank you, Councilwoman, for taking the lead on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. The next speaker, Carl Higgins.
Good evening, Mayor Ritter, council members. My name is Carl Higgins. I live on Roma Drive in the city of Vista. This effort is 100% Vista. It's a Vista business, it's Vista Boy Scouts, it's Vista residents, and it's open, unlike district elections, it's open to everyone in the city of Vista. Dogs play such an important role in many of our lives in so many ways. For the military, there's a National War Memorial and a National Monument at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Also for the military and for civilians, there are service dogs that help with PTSD and other psychosocial issues. There is also a National Law Enforcement Canine Memorial that is in the works right now. There's a California Law Enforcement Faithful Partner Memorial at UC Davis. And hospitals locally and nonprofits such as Guide Dogs for the Blind all play very important roles in our lives using dogs. Which brings us to our city and the opportunity for us to recognize the vital role that dogs play for so many Vistans. So vital, in fact, that many of us believe that our dogs are truly family members. And when they pass on, we'd like the opportunity to memorialize their lives and the important role that they played. So we thank Brian Steer, who's been my neighbor for 17 years, and Councilmember Rigby, thank you so much for your leadership on this, to create Rainbow Bridge at South Buena Vista Park, and we urge your support for this agenda item because we had a beautiful black lab named Cody who left us all too soon that we'd love to put a plaque up there too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brian Sear.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Brian Sear. I live in Mallorca Development. I've been in Vista for about 18 years now. Ever since we found out about that little park, we've been bringing our dogs down to the park on a daily basis, even during the rain sometimes. So it's a big part of our home, really. Our dog was a family member. Anyways, I'm definitely in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Mary Alger?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I would just like to say, a lot of people will say it's just a dog. Dogs are parts of families, and a lot of people that aren't able to have kids do have pets and do look at them as their family. This is no cost to the city. It would be something that would brighten up that area of the park. The park is like a hidden jewel, and everybody that finds out that there's this dog park in Vista, it's like, where is this? And I think that it would just speak a lot to the community who have dogs that are in apartments or don't have the big run. It's a great area for our dogs. And so I would really like you to consider it, on top of the fact that it helps somebody else get their Eagle Scout project. You know, it seems that everything is covered, so I'd really like you to consider it and pass it. Thanks.
Thank you. That is all of our speakers. And as a person who has a Mastiff, I have a dog person, so I will go on to, let's see, Councilmember Aguilera first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Will this be like the only one up in North County, or?
I'm really not sure about North County.
Okay, just curious. I mean, it's kind of a neat. I haven't really heard of it, so of this idea. And when I did read about it and talk to members of our community about it, it was very supportive. I think I've got neighbors and friends, family members even, that feel like their pets are their kids. And I know Vista, it's a big part of our community, always has been. And I mean, you go to some of our establishments and pets are allowed, so it's kind of a neat thing. So with that, I want to go ahead and second the motion, because I believe you made the motion, so I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Franklin.
I just want to thank Councilwoman Rigby and all the citizens who brought this forward. This is a really nice opportunity to create and build community, and for folks to remember their four-legged family members. And I think it's a great idea. My wife will be somewhat dismayed that cats were excluded. However, I also want to lend my support to the motion, and I appreciate you bringing it forward. And thank you, all of you, for coming forward, and all of you are participating and helping build the community and doing something positive for Vista. Thank you.
Gosh, one of my concerns is it big enough for everyone's dogs? Councilmember Rigby.
With the new railings, it should be. I see a scout here in the room. Are you our Life Scout Eagle candidate? Would you like to stand up and please introduce yourself? Excellent. Thank you very much for doing this. The other thing I just wanted to mention that, yes, to do this, the bridge has to be rebuilt, and it could really use it anyway. But in rebuilding it, we're going to be adding additional railings to the ones that you see in your agenda photograph. So we will be having the railings to accommodate what we think will be a good number of plaques. And I can't thank you for the kudos, but I can't take them, because although it's a great idea and we've thought about it, and we had one citizen in the community, one resident in the community who brought this to me and said, can we do this? And Mr. Brian Sear, I want to say thank you to you, because Mr. Sear got the community involved. He got the Eagle Scout, he got the hospital, he got BK engraving. So this is something that's really important to you, as well as to the rest of us here who have dogs. And my sweet baby Angelique, passed away 9 years ago at the age of 18. And I would say that she terrorized my twins, but she seemed to enjoy everything that they did to her and with her. And a very special part of our family. And I was going to say I would thumb wrestle you, Mr. Higgins, for the second plaque, but I'm happy to be number 3. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing this and bringing this to our community.
And with that, please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. The last thing on our agenda is our resident reward coins, and Councilmember Green has requested this item be put on the agenda, so I'll ask him to introduce the item.
Resident reward coins. Love it. I went ahead and just typed because I'm scattered all over the place, so I like to just throw out exactly why this is here. I've asked for the resident reward coin idea to be added to the agenda for this week's meeting. Know that I'm not looking in any way to cost our taxpayers additional money, but I'm looking for a way to engage and reward our citizens with funds already allocated to us as council members or with my own funds as an individual. As you guys may be aware, Vista Municipal Code Chapter 1.20.020, which I've attached, it's this beautiful municipal code right here, it states that the city seal shall only be utilized by city officials for official business of the city. No person shall use or allow to be used any reproduction or facsimile of the city seal for any commercial, personal, political, or non-city organizational purposes unless previously authorized by the city council. There are other elected officials in our county here that have reward tokens and different coins that they can give their citizens. As a newly elected official, I really feel like this item before you, I'm just going to keep going so I don't get too weird. All I'm trying to do is gain consensus from this council to allow us as council members to use the city seal to reward our residents in the form of a city coin, similar to what other elected officials have done for their cities. The front of the coin would be the city seal, and the back could simply read, "Thank you from Vista." I propose the council allow members of this council to purchase these non-personalized coins from either their own personal funds or from funds already allocated to us council members for traveling or training expenses. I appreciate your time and consideration of this matter. I would prefer the reward coin design be collaborative so that it represents our city very well, and I think that the ability to provide a small token of our gratitude to our citizens will help us become better connected to them and allow us as elected officials to recognize someone for a job well done spontaneously. So I want to make sure everybody knows I'm not looking to spend the city's money if it's a deal of I'm not allowed to spend the money allocated for me for travel and training, which as council members we're all allocated a certain number annually. I don't need to go to Sacramento or Washington or anything like that. I'd like to be able to use a portion of those funds for this to kind of give back to my community. And if that's not allowed, at least a consensus to say, hey, you can buy them. I'll give them to all you. I'll pay for everybody's reward coins. I don't care. I just want to be able to give them to our city. And a lot of you may not know this, but we're not allowed to talk to council members as a group. So this is really the only time we can talk as a group to say, hey, what do you think about this? So this is a discussion item, and this is the first time we've all even discussed it. So welcome to the discussion. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Franklin.
As this was introduced to me by the staff, I understand that you were originally intent on or had a desire to produce what would resemble a challenge coin, and you were thinking of using your own personal funds for that.
Yeah, I started out trying that way.
I'm more supportive of that proposal. I know there's been discussion in the past, I think before I was on the council, about the proper use of the city seal. I think as long as you're elected to the council and your use of the seal is not inherently for a political purpose, soliciting funds for a campaign or advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office or position on a political issue, unless you're doing so in your official position on, say letterhead or something like endorsing anyway, we can go down the rabbit hole on that. But I think generally speaking, if a council member wants to, have a challenge coin that they've used their funds, I don't see a I don't see a problem or conflict there. So I'm supportive of the proposal in that construct. I don't know how it would be perceived by the public if we did use taxpayer dollars to produce them. And so that being said, I certainly would join you in helping finance an order to bring the cost down. And I'm sure we might find some other members of the council willing to do the same. But I think that's where I'm at on it.
Okay, Councilor Aguilera.
I guess I got a little bit different take on it. Although I do appreciate, your desire to recognize citizens for a job well done or whatever it might be. I think we do that quite a bit, and but not too much. And I think it's special when people get proclamations or letters of recognition from council, from the mayor, and get recognized for a job well done. And we've had that, several times since I've been on council. And I think it's important that we do recognize people that are doing good things in our community. The concern I have with the reward coins, as originally I'd heard it was, it was going to be city money that we were going to use, and I'm completely opposed to using tax dollars for this. And I'll tell you why. My view of it is my name would be on there with the city seal. I feel like that would be something that it could be perceived as campaigning. And we had a county supervisor who took a lot of heat for this in the recent past. And right or wrong, I don't think his intentions were bad, but it doesn't matter. That's the way they were perceived, and that's how it came out. And I would hate for people to see this as a way for me to be spreading my name out there. And so I don't know if I'm going to be on the losing end of this or not, but one of the things that I would definitely recommend is there would be a limited number and everybody gets the same amount, and you can't, because it's just like campaign signs. Some campaigns have more money than others, so they got hundreds of signs throughout the city. Other campaigns are struggling to gather funds, and you see 20 signs throughout the city, or don't see their signs at all. And so I think that we need to regulate how many you could actually purchase for yourself, so it wouldn't be a contest of who gets their name out the most out there. That is, if everybody's in agreement with this. Like I said, I think you're clear where I stand on it. And it's not that it's a bad idea. I just think there's some unforeseen consequences that we're not considering.
I think you're asking though you pay for it yourself and not to have your name on it. Yeah, just a city. So is that okay? Okay, Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have thought many times over the last few years, or been in situations where I thought this would be the appropriate moment to have a challenge coin to hand to somebody. There are times where I think they would be good I think they're a good thing to have. Having said that, I am not in favor of spending taxpayer money on having them done. I'm okay with making them and then paying for it out of pocket. Because I know I certainly don't have a lot of money at the end of the year left in my travel and training expense account, going back and forth to Sacramento or Ontario or something. And I wouldn't want to see them be personalized with the city logo on one side and then something, campaign-like on the other side. My vision for it would be the city seal on one side, and then on the back side would have our city's mission statement. A lot of people don't know that we have a mission statement, so I think that would be what side B should be. But I'm in favor of doing this, just not using public funds.
I would actually agree with that, but not using public funds. And I'm not sure a mission statement would fit on the back of that. It's pretty long. Yeah, that'd be a very large campaign, a large coin. But I would like to see the city seal and then something on the back. But I'd like to have it maybe approved by the city to, what the design is, have that approval, and then, but then to use your own money, maybe we all go together, whoever wants to do it. Because you know what, the military has a lot of, actually I have a collection of them. I collect them from the military people, and
We all do.
yeah, and so, yeah, they're kind of, for a while I had them in my drawer, and I was like, oh, these are pretty cool, so I kind of put them out, so they're kind of interesting, and I think the military thing is if you go there and they, if you don't have one, then you have to buy them a drink. Right? Isn't that how it goes? Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I don't know what it's. That's a military thing. It doesn't go with the city. So anyway, okay. So with that, Councilmember Green.
First of all, it's not for me. It wasn't a drinking coin. I just want to make sure we're all clear on that. I like to go on the record as saying, "I will buy your drink, no problem." I did not have. Anyway, I'm very familiar with the supervisor who got in trouble, and it was a lot of self-promotion. And I want to make sure that everybody knows it has nothing to do with self. It's more Vista. We are Vista. We are Vista as a whole. We represent this entire city, and I think that having these challenge coins for us, and I initially brought this to Patrick to do something that I paid for myself, and I wasn't allowed to because of this code, and it can only be overturned by members of the council. So the only reason why I recommended the traveler training funds is that in the event you guys don't want to pay out of your own pocket, we have those travel and training funds. So I am perfectly okay. I'd basically like to move that we instruct staff to work with us on the design of the reward coin, and that when they are purchased from our funds as individuals, and we will meet with our city manager individually to not violate the Brown Act as far as what the orders are and all
I would
that.
think, could you just do one that's the same for everybody?
Everybody's is the same, yeah. Everybody's is the same, yeah. And that's what we would do is the back side. I think it's negotiable whether we put our old school Vista there that says thank you from Vista, or whether it's a mission statement, whatever fits. Just something, because like you say, I've been to these Wounded Warriors banquets and they give you their coin, and you meet the general and he gives you the coin. Like, how awesome would it be as a Vista representative to give that general a coin, or even the gentleman who worked real hard for this Rainbow Bridge? You know, he brought people here to the community. He got BK engraving. I mean, that guy is making a difference in his community forever. How awesome to, you know, on behalf of Amanda, to say, hey, thanks for bringing this to our boom, you know, and Vista appreciates you. So it's not self-promotion, it's city promotion, and I think it will help us be more connected, and it's something that citizens will never forget. I actually got a challenge coin from a mayor before, and it was for something really minuscule, but I still have it and I keep it, and it's corny, but I remember meeting that mayor and felt like I did something for him. So anyways, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Franklin.
Well, I just want to make one more run at the general authority for the members of the council to be able to use their name on the coin if they want. You know, if you collect challenge coins, you know, members of the assembly, members of Congress, you know, public officials all over have these. A lot of them bear official symbols, like the Great Seal.
And they have their names on there, don't they?
And a lot of them have their names on them. I don't see a problem. I mean, you know, they're very expensive. They're a few dollars a piece, about the cost of a yard sign. So, you know, I doubt anybody's going to be handing out thousands of them. You know, it's some kind of a memorabilia. You know, I would definitely add and include that no person should sell anything bearing the you know, the image or the city seal, or in any way profit on it.
Or buy drinks.
Yeah.
Buy drinks. Yeah.
Well, that might be another issue. I don't know if we can regulate that effectively. Anyway, I just don't see a reason to prohibit the council from, if they want to create a coin with their name on it, which would be similar. You know, and if a council member is going to make a large investment of their personal funds to create those, I don't see why you'd want to, you know, I don't see what the need would be to stop them from that. So, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, I have Councilor Aguilera, and then I have a speaker that just came in. Do you want to hear the speaker? Sure. Okay. Alexis.
Hello, and thank you.
Hello.
I just really quickly had a good idea.
Oh, good.
Instead of, right? Maybe instead of, sorry, I just ran. Whew. Maybe instead of having the individual name on it, we could do it by district. So if you're interested in collecting, hey, right? Oh. So if you're interested in making a collection, it's not necessarily I'm collecting individuals, so you're kind of getting away from that campaign kind of mode. But hey, you know, like I got one from all 4 districts, or I got one from, you know, every district. It could be kind of cool, and each district could have its own little symbol or its own little whatever. We can make all kinds of, you guys, plenty of artists here, plenty of artists in the community. We can definitely reach out and help you design that. So that was my idea.
Great idea.
Kind of meet in the middle, but in a more fun, artistic way, and still fun for the collectors.
Thank you for your idea. We appreciate that. Okay, so who's left? Councilmember Aguilera.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just real quick, I like the idea of the thank you on one side, you know, because I think that, you know, you're thanking people for whatever they have done. So that was it.
There probably is, if you had one, and you know what, if you have one the same for everybody, it would be cheaper to go together than it would be if everybody has their own name on it, then you got to go individual. So just as a little 2 cents I'll put in there. Oh, Councilmember Franklin. Oh, Deputy Mayor Franklin.
Can I perhaps, since we don't have a specific design, could we perhaps just request that council members bring back to the council a specific design that you know we can vote on up or down? Staff, I don't know if I want to pull staff in their time into this. Perhaps we can invite the art community to assist us in.
There we go.
And as a prize, they'd get the first one of the first rounds of coins, and maybe a drink too.
Okay.
Is that amenable?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so I got does.
That's
Deputy
Joe
Mayor
Green
Franklin,
again.
you're done. Are you done, Joe Green? Or are you?
I'm not done. Sorry. I just think that we need to amend that motion then, right? Because we have to vote on this. Is this correct? So that we can.
Patrick, would we have to vote on this?
Is it something we have to vote on? So because basically,
we have to give direction as a consensus.
So it looks like
two things I heard was one, have staff come back. The other, by Deputy Mayor Franklin, was have the art community make submittals. Is what I think I heard.
Yeah. My motion is to allow council members to bring back designs from whatever source that they deem appropriate, and but was specifically exclusive of investing staff time in this endeavor.
Okay.
And then the council could later
would vote on it before we start creating the actual challenge coins. So basically, our consensus is to move forward, but we want to vote on it before we make them.
I think the council would approve a final design as well.
Vote on the approval of the final design.
And as the final design would come back to us, do we need to vote on this, or is our consensus? We're really not changing or doing anything at this time.
I think we're fine now. Yeah. I just think when we bring
we have
it
a
back,
consensus
you
to
need
move
have
forward.
consensus
Yeah,
on the
that'll be the formal authority today.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So it looks like, so we go from there. Now we're at oral communication. Do I have any oral communications? Oh, I do. Oh my gosh, I got a bunch of them here. I have several oral communication speakers. Don't everybody? Okay, so first, Nancy Jones. Get your cape on, Superman.
Sorry. All right, I'm Nancy B. Jones, and I am president of the Women's Club of Vista, and I have been working for 3 months with the people from Only Losers Litter, and that's Sarah Spinks and Alexis Ponchev, and we have been doing litter cleanup. You would not believe what we have found. Oh my gosh. So you will be getting a copy of this letter, but I've sent it to a lot of people here in Vista. So I have been in Vista for over 30 years, and I have contributed a lot to the community, but this one is really fun. We hope you've heard about the Back Fence Society and the Only Losers Litter campaign of monthly trash walks right here in Vista. We started in January 2017. Our trash walkers include students, families, grandparents, teachers, members of service groups, children, and even babies in strollers. We are concerned, even they are, concerned citizens who want to make Vista a better place to live. So we come dressed in wild attire, You should see their capes. Oh my gosh. And we make a visual spectacle while we're being community crusaders. So on January 15th, we started at NCTD Transit Center. Oh my gosh. Personally, and I forgot to put my gloves on, I cleaned up torn open bags of trash and big, huge cubes of trash. Well, after that particular cleanup, we did get a hold of, we sent you all letters, and we got referred to NCTD. And by golly, they are now doing daily stops, and they are looking at it, and if there is too much trash now, they call maintenance. So we have accomplished something there. But there's only one trash can for that whole area. And then the other thing that we'll get to later is the cigarette butts. Oh my gosh. So on February 19th, we were at Brengle Terrace Park, and we cleaned up the creek, and it was very successful. First time we had 100 people, second time 100 people, third time was 35 people. The most recent trash walk was March 19th. We were again at the NCTD Transit Center, and a man stopped by, and he's the employee, so they're now patrolling daily. But we also picked up cigarette butts, and we went up Olive, and it was just amazing how many cigarette butts we could pick up.
Hurry with the cigarette butts, you only have a few seconds left.
Speaking of which, okay, so we would like to have city cooperation or VVBA cooperation to figure out some sort of trash receptacle for cigarette butts. It's amazing how many are dropped out there. They can't smoke inside, they come outside, and right in front of, that's my time, right in front of the Vista Village Pub is just littered with cigarette butts. So we're hoping, and you will get copies of this letter, we're hoping to cooperate with the city because this is unsightly and it's not a very good way to share our city.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Luke Marvin. Okay. Oh, the next, let's see, it looks like that, is it Thaddeus Tague? And then are you going to speak after him? Okay.
Thank you, members of the council and mayor, for your valuable time. So this issue is tangential but nonetheless pertinent. So I work just down the street at an insurance agency called Tag Insurance, right on Broadway. And most mornings when I go to work, pull up to the parking lot right behind the Sonic, and there is, various amounts of trash or broken beer bottles kind of littered all over the parking lot. And that's not abnormal. But sometimes it's a little bit more personal. In the last 2 months or so, we've had severe damage to personal property in the parking lot. We've had a whole storefront window smashed in, and we even had a man just last week who urinated on the back of our building door. So it saddens me a little bit to see the Broadway and South Santa Fe area that is really striving for improvement and has been granted it by the council members in a lot of ways, kind of held back by some of these things that have been happening. So, $1 million question, what does it mean to you guys? Why am I here? Well, I think that with a few suggestions and with a few very minor fixes, the community of businesses right along East Broadway and along South Santa Fe could join hands with the council members to work on these improvements. Now, what's the ask? I have a couple of suggestions. My friend Luke will bring up a little bit more of empirical statistical evidence. First one that we would recommend is Wi-Fi cameras placed at strategic places along the East Broadway area. There's empirical evidence to show that there's actually an economic return on Wi-Fi cameras due to reduced crime rates. Second of all, I would suggest increased police officer patrols along East Broadway. That's also proven to reduce spontaneous crime along certain areas. And then third of all, just something as simple as service groups like the lady that was just up here, or community service workers who are tasked to work service hours to come help clean up the community. So in my mind, it really saddens me to see this kind of community who's really striving to do this be held back when with just such minimal effort, you guys could really step alongside us and help the businesses that are striving to improve the community. So if you ever come down to visit Tag Insurance right along Broadway, you'll get some stellar conversation and a really killer cup of office coffee. But we're the building right with the crazy mural on the side with the Gandhi quote. And the Gandhi quote says, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And I found that kind of ironic because it's not actually a Gandhi quote. It's a quote by the great revered philosopher Michael Jackson. So what Gandhi actually said, his direct quote, which I would challenge you guys with today, is that all the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. And this is kind of what I'm asking, is that as members of a civil society, the council members have a greater capacity to affect change in their community, right? The local citizens like Luke Marvin and I who just work in the community, this is the extent of our power. We can come present these issues to you. And we work here and we invest in Vista and we see other businesses that invest in Vista. But we would love to join hands with you guys to try to push back the feeling that some people in low-income communities feel like they have to commit certain crimes in certain areas. We would love to improve the community because at the end of the day, these businesses really do attribute to this community involvement with us and with you guys. So thank you for your time. And Luke will be talking about the same issue, but a little bit better than me.
Okay, Luke.
Thank you, members of the council and mayor. Good evening. I did a bit of research on what I believe would be the best way to improve the area of Broadway and the condition of doing business for that particular area. And I believe that surveillance cameras would be one of the best ways to not only deter but also help law enforcement identify suspects and bring them to justice. I know just across the street from us, we had a business right across from us had the windows smashed by a vandal. And to my knowledge, we do not know who did that. In a world where we have better surveillance through cameras, we can identify who those suspects are. So according to Watchman Security 2016, several cities across the nation have been installing security cameras and have seen corresponding drops in crime. In East Orange City in New Jersey, they installed cameras in 2003, and between 2003 and 2006 saw a 50% decline in overall crime and a 2/3 decline in murder rates. In New York City, after installing camera systems, they also saw a roughly 37% decline in crime. I believe this would be a cost-effective measure to reducing crime because it would not put an overburden on police forces who undoubtedly are already suffering with budget issues. According to the research by the Urban Institute that was conducted in 2011, cities such as Baltimore and Chicago actually saw an economic return. In the case of Chicago, a 4-fold return on the investment from the initial cost of the cameras, and in the case of Baltimore, they saw an economic return of roughly $1.50 per dollar that they spent on the camera. So in terms of the economics of this proposal, putting up more cameras throughout the city, I think would actually bring a net revenue increase to the city. And I believe it would also make it a safer place to conduct business, safer for people who wish to go about their daily lives, and ultimately would put less of a strain on law enforcement. It would make it easier for them to identify suspects and make it a much safer city for us all to live in. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Judy Strang.
Good evening. I'm Judy Strang. I'm the Executive Director of San Diego Alliance for Drug-Free Youth. We're sort of the sister prevention coalition to the North Coastal Prevention Coalition. We serve the catchment area of the San Diego region, the San Diego Union High School, and its 5 feeder elementary school. So on the north end, that's La Costa, down through the city of Encinitas, Solana Beach, Del Mar, and Carmel Valley, also in the city of San Diego. And I come before you because in our 3 cities of Encinitas, Solana Beach, and Del Mar, we have had marijuana storefront ballot initiatives at each of those 3 cities, and they were handily defeated. So I wanted to share with you some of the observations that our coalition made during this period of time. I understand from reading about your situation that you're feeling that Prop 64 was some sort of mandate regarding your ballot initiative, and I just want to suggest to you that it is not Prop 64 was not written as a mandate, it was written as a social justice issue and a sort of a personal ability to smoke pot, to hand off pot, to transport pot, and to grow pot in your own home. So sort of a civil liberty issue. It was never about marijuana storefronts nor about commercial grows. The Metapot ballot initiative that was out collecting signatures is about putting marijuana storefronts in a retail setting in your city. And as prevention coalitions, our experience with anything that commercializes pot is that it increases its use. And I realize that there's a cost to putting this initiative on the ballot, and you're maybe preemptively trying to put some regulations in place. But keep in mind that if pot shops open in your city, there is a cost, and it'll be a severe social cost to you, particularly regarding your young people. And I want to suggest to you that putting regulations in place yourselves may not work, because we found in the city of San Diego that though they have a permitting process in place, it has not eliminated the illegal, unpermitted pot shops at all. In fact, there's about 3 times the number of them as there are permitted, because what we find is it sort of creates a situation where you can hide in plain sight. And there's kind of a nod of there's somehow acceptability. And so there's this kind of let's open some, and it causes more problems than it has helped. And also we have found that even if the initiative collects enough signatures and comes to the public for a vote, I don't think you should fear that. Our experience was that once people understood what that ballot initiative was about, opening stores in their city, they didn't like it. Thank you.
Thank you. Damian Johnson?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Damian Johnson. I was born and raised in North County. I run a skilled nursing facility with 90 residents and 100 employees in my care. I am married and a father of 5 children. I am concerned that you're being pressured regarding regulations for marijuana storefronts and commercial cultivations. I want to make sure you realize that this drug being discussed has very negative consequences with which I have personal experience. In addition to my 5 children, I am currently the guardian of a 6th child who's 1 year old and whose mother was living out of a car. She's a longtime marijuana user, and her welfare money supported her habit, not her children. Her drug use began and continues with marijuana, spanning 20 years, where she has now lost all 5 of her children to the care of 4 different families. Those who support the sale and cultivation of marijuana only look at the revenue side. They don't consider the costs to the society or the residual impact due to the negative effects, such as the tens of thousands of dollars going to just this one family. Marijuana cultivation and storefronts in the city would produce marijuana, not a benign drug. The drug whose use begins in the teen years and continues into the young adult years, where they often become parents just like her, unable to properly parent children and exposing their unborn children to marijuana in utero with long-time consequences to these innocent children. Whether through a marijuana storefront or a cultivation site, the city should not enable, normalize, or commercialize marijuana, because the history of marijuana's manufacture, storage, purity, concentration, and potency is unknown. This drug is recommended by a pot doc through Skyping without taking a medical history or giving a physical exam, or lacking a pre-existing relationship or knowledge of the patient. Marijuana can be bought by 18-year-olds in unlimited amounts, an unlimited number of times, at unlimited number of pot shops without proper protection against diversion to others. To allow marijuana storefronts and commercial grows generates a health hazard for patients, a public safety threat for neighborhoods, and a nuisance for families and the community, and creates a liability for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. J.C. Wynn, come tell us about something happy. How about a Vista Easter egg hunt? Yeah.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm J.C. Wynn, a.k.a. Santa Claus in the city of Vista, and I'd like to inform all of our listeners and viewers at home and all my council members that we're once again going to have the annual Vista Easter egg hunt at Brango Terrace Park on April the 15th. And we have so many volunteers already signed up, and I got my list of donors, and I'd like to thank for donating and getting this thing going. It's going to be, I think it's going to be bigger than before. And I don't know why it keeps getting that way, but it does. But I'd like to thank the Pride of Vista Alliance, the City of Vista, Vanessa and Rob at the Rec Department for all their help, Chamber of Commerce, Annapolis Theaters, Little Cakes, Cold Stone, Herb and Jackie Wesson, attorneys on Vista Way there. They contribute every year, never fail. Kenny's Car Clinic, Vista Entertainment Center, A&D Glass, $500 check from the guys. So if you get a broken window, be sure to get out there and fix your window by A&D Glass. Boomers, Albertsons, East Vista Way, Prohibition, Elks Lodge, Sunrise Cafe, Upper Crust Pizza, Jeff and Vicki Bertrand donating 2 brand new bicycles to raffle off to help generate some more funds if we fall short, or for the purchase of the candy next year, because we always go the day after Halloween and get the hard candy, half off, Walmart. Eleanor Hutchins and Hutchins Printing for giving us the Easter egg hunt shirts, the purple shirts for the Purple Shirt Brigade. If anybody's ever been out there, you see the purple shirts. And Sport About Sporting Goods Store for their donations for raffle. We got a lot of opportunity, not raffle, it's opportunity. So I'd like to thank everyone and encourage everyone who's listening or watching or here in the audience to go home and share the information on your Facebook pages and everything, so all the kids in the city of Vista get the knowledge that Brango Terrace Park, April 15th at 9 a.m. is going to be the place to be. And thousands of eggs, thousands of candies, just fun time, face painting, demonstrations by the Karate Kids, on and on and on. So thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you for doing it, JC.
7th year. Oh, sorry, 7th year.
How many years?
7 years.
7?
2010 we started.
Good job. Congratulations on that. Our last speaker, Sarah Spinks.
Memo got out to code enforcement not to take my 22 signs. I'm down to 22. I started with 25, but 7 years we only lost 3 signs. So let's keep.
Okay, Sarah.
Hi, good evening. I just want to tag on to what Nancy was talking about with the cleanup. We've been having a lot of fun dressing in capes. I saw John at Pringle Terrace cleaning up trash. It's a great way to spend our Sunday afternoon. We've had lots of fun families come out. One guy had a furniture dolly with a trash can attached to it. He was really gung-ho. But I do notice that a lot of the trash that I'm picking up, it's micro trash, and most of it is cigarette butts. So I started thinking about maybe this is an opportunity for a public art project. Uline, the big catalog where you buy, like, you have a factory and you buy all your stuff through the Uline catalog. They actually have these decorative cigarette butt receptacles. They look like lilies, but we have artists in our community, so maybe that's a thought of having decorative cigarette butt receptacles, and maybe something we could collaborate on, since we've physically been out picking up the cigarette butts. I kind of know where they're getting concentrated, where the people are smoking the cigarettes. It's just sad because then it rains, and then it all goes in the gutter, and then it all goes into the storm drains and goes out to wherever. So, and also talking the insurance guy with the parking lot. So last Saturday, actually, I went and had dinner at Flying Pig, and then we had a cocktail at Smitty's, and then we were walking home, and there were just these guys. Literally, they threw 30 cans on the ground. They were throwing them on the mural. I walked by, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And they were just like, well, my husband was like, you need to keep walking, because I get kind of like passionate. And he's
right.
like, you need to keep walking. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep walking. But then I called the sheriff, and I said, this is going on. But it was just the blatant, it was just so blatant. It was like, I don't care. I'm just going to throw beers against this wall under a light. And there was like 30 people. I was like, what is going on here? So I requested extra patrol and as we're gearing up towards the warmer months, the longer nights, I just feel like people are getting really emboldened in that parking lot. Plus I work right there, so I'm watching them, and it's like broken glass, and people are just feeling really brave over there. So I don't know what we can do to increase maybe like patrolling or something, just people feeling really brave. So that's all. Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you. That is the end of our speakers. And so now we will go on to remarks. I have little announcements here that I will do for the council members, or the mayor's comments. And they are the following. Number one, the Moonlight still has discounted children's tickets to the Rhythmic Circus, the Rapid Fire Tap Dancing event on April 7th. That's supposed to be really good, so anybody that hasn't got tickets to that should be an interesting event, especially if you like tap dancing. Ticket information is online at moonlightstage.com. The McClellan Center is offering a monthly music appreciation class, and the next one is scheduled for Wednesday, April 5th, and for more information, contact the center at 760-639-6160. And last thing, to enhance community outreach, I've scheduled 3 Walk with the Mayor events on April and May. So the first one is April 11th at noon. Meet me at the Civic Center front steps, and we'll make a loop around downtown. Let's take a little walk, and it's just for fun. It will be a great opportunity to exercise and to meet everyone. So bring your family and friends, and pets are also welcome. I won't bring my Mastiff. He's too big. More information on all 3 events is online at cityofvista.com. So I hope some of you guys will come out and walk with me. So it will be kind of just a fun, friendly event. So with that, I will go on. I'll start on with the other end. I'll start with Councilmember Green.
I just want to tell everybody thank you for showing up and caring about Vista. You are loved and appreciated, and your voice does matter. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I'll just second that and say thanks to all of those who are volunteering in the community, picking up trash in the community, caring about the community, creating the community. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Friday, I'm going to be heading up to Ontario for the League of Cities Rev and Tax meetings, which are always a lot of fun, talking about the other ways that Sacramento wants to steal our money and use it for things that aren't going to be beneficial to us. Aside from that, I want to say thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your voices with us. It's always important, as Councilman Green said. And also thank you to staff for all that you do for us and for our city.
Councilmember Aguilera.
Yeah, it's always good to see people out here, especially these active people. I see a lot of the same faces all the time, so it's great to see you guys, though. I do want to make one announcement. I think I've mentioned this before. NCTD is planning on making some route changes. One of the route changes does affect Vista. It's the 335. They have opened up a public hearing, and they have public meetings. There is going to be one at the Vista Library on April 11th between 1 and 3 o'clock, where all the route changes will be discussed at that time. But there's various meeting places: Carlsbad, San Marcos, Oceanside, Escondido. So go to the NCTD website to get the exact dates and times and places. Get involved. And the only other thing I wanted to say is if you haven't been to Sinopolis lately, you should really check it out. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Sinopolis. I've been there a couple times, but I've been hearing more and more good things. The mayor was there watching a 4D movie, but if you haven't been there, you're missing out. So you don't need to go anywhere else but Vista to watch your movies and enjoy.
Yeah, and you need to try the theater. It's called the
40X.
40X. The seats go like this and like this, and they have smells like grass and meat and smoke, and then you have wind in your face and moisture in your face. It's quite the experience. So, but pick a calm movie.
They also have the junior theater, which
yes,
is
they
for
also have
kids,
the junior theater for the kids, where they have 15 minutes before the theater opens, and they have an intermission, and they have like little beanbag chairs and things. But there's a climbing thing that they can climb way up high and slide down, and then there's a little place for younger children, and but they do it 15 minutes before the movie, and then they have a break in the middle of the movie, and all movies are PG or G in there, so that's a junior theater. So interesting, yeah, it's fun. If you haven't been to Sinopolis lately, you need to try it. City Manager, what is your announcements today?
Mayor, I do want to say the Kids Theater is the first one in the United States for Sinopolis, and the 40X Theater is one of 5 in California. So
Yeah.
we're pretty excited to have that. I just had one comment, which was the Vista Library, all state and county offices are closed Friday the 31st for Cesar Chavez holiday. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Trash pickup is on the same schedule, and the city offices are still open on Friday.
City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think I have anything further to add this evening.
How about our acting city clerk? Amanda, no, nothing? Okay, with that, if nobody else has anything, we are adjourned.